She smiled. "You promised to marry me when we were kids." I asked, "Does that promise still count?" Years had passed since he had last been here, yet everything seemed strangely familiar. The skyline of the colony city shimmered in the distance, tall glass towers twisting toward the neon-lit sky. The hum of hovering vehicles and the chatter of people mingled in the warm, dry air. It smelled different: metal, ozone, and something faintly sweet that he couldn't name. He adjusted the strap of his bag and took a deep breath. Returning to this place felt like stepping into a memory. He remembered the days when the colony was smaller, quieter, almost like a village in a desert. Back then, he had been a boy running through sand dunes, dreaming of flying among the stars, and making promises with the people he cared about most. Kale had returned for the first time in 5 years. His work with the Interstellar Exploration Corps had taken him to distant planets, each with strange landscapes and alien creatures. He had seen stars so bright they burned in his vision and moons that hung like silver lanterns in the sky. But none of it had felt like home. Not really. As he walked through the bustling market street, Kale's attention was caught by a familiar figure standing near a stall that sold mechanical gadgets. She looked different, older, taller, more confident, but her smile was the same one he remembered from his childhood. The same warm smile that had lit up every memory of laughter and adventures they had shared. "Kale," he froze. The voice was unmistakable. Turning slowly, he saw her fully: Leora. Her hair had grown long, falling past her shoulders, and her eyes sparkled with the same mischievous glint that had made him chase her through the sand dunes as a boy. She stepped closer, her smile widening. "Leora," he said, almost in disbelief. She laughed softly, a sound that tugged at something deep inside him. "You promised you'd come back," she said, her voice teasing yet gentle. Kale scratched the back of his neck, unsure how to respond. I did." "Yes," she said, rolling her eyes. "And you promised something else too." She leaned closer, lowering her voice just enough for him to hear. "You promised to marry me when we were kids." The words hit him like a meteor. Kale felt his face flush. Does that promise still count?" he asked, half joking, half serious. Leora's smile didn't waver. "Depends. Do you want it to?" Kale didn't answer immediately. Instead, he studied her, remembering their childhood adventures. He remembered how they had explored the rocky cliffs outside the colony, how they had built tiny forts in the desert, and how they had promised each other that no matter where life took them, they would always come back. Kale began, but stopped. The words felt too heavy, too real. He didn't know if he could say yes yet, not until he knew if the boyish promise could survive the years and distance between them. "Come on," Leora said, tugging gently at his arm. "I'll show you around. The city has changed since you left." Kale followed her through winding streets and hovering bridges. Shops glowed with neon signs in languages he didn't recognize, and robots zipped past, delivering goods or cleaning the streets. Holographic billboards floated in midair, advertising everything from anti-gravity boots to exotic foods from distant planets. Despite all the changes, Kale felt a sense of comfort walking beside Leora. It was as if no time had passed, yet the world around them had grown larger, wilder, and more exciting. "Do you remember the old park near the edge of the colony?" Leora asked suddenly. Kale smiled. "The one with the big metal tree sculpture." "That's the one," she said. "We used to play there for hours. You used to pretend it was a spaceship and I was the co-pilot." Kale chuckled. "And we swore we'd travel the stars together." Leora stopped and looked at him, her expression softening. "We did, and we still can." They reached a quieter part of the city where the air smelled of ozone and warm metal. The old park was gone, replaced by a sleek plaza with a fountain that shot glowing streams of water into the sky. But in the corner a small sculpture remained, a twisted metal tree, barely recognizable but still standing. Kale ran his fingers over its rough surface, memories flooding back. "I can't believe it's still here," he said. "It feels like nothing changed." Some things never do, Leora replied. Some promises, some memories, they stick, no matter where life takes you. For a moment they stood in silence, watching the fountain's lights dance in the evening sky. Kale realized how much he had missed this, the simplicity of being with someone who understood him completely, someone who had been part of his life before the galaxy had pulled him away. I need to tell you something, Leora said finally. Her tone grew serious, her smile fading just slightly. The colony isn't just a quiet home anymore. There are things happening out there, threats, dangerous ones. Kale frowned. What do you mean? She gestured toward the horizon, where the first stars of the evening were beginning to appear. Ships disappearing near the asteroid belt, strange readings from the outer colonies. Something is out there, and it's not human. Kale's pulse quickened. He had faced danger before, had navigated unknown planets and battled rogue AI, but hearing it so close to home made it real. "Do you need help?" he asked, his protective instincts kicking in. Leora nodded. "I'm heading out tomorrow. I don't want to, but I can't ignore it. And I don't want to go alone." Kale looked at her, the memories of their childhood promise and their shared dreams colliding with the present reality. "Then we'll go together," he said firmly. Her eyes softened, a mixture of relief and something deeper passing between them. "I knew I could count on you." They spent the rest of the evening walking through the city, catching up on years apart. Leora told him about the developments in the colony, the technological advances, and the new friends she had made. Kale shared stories from his travels, of distant planets, alien landscapes, and creatures that defied imagination. Even amidst the marvels and dangers of the galaxy, Kale realized something profound. The human connections, the friendships, the promises, the bonds, were what made all the adventure meaningful. As night fell and the neon lights reflected off the metallic streets, Kale felt a sense of belonging he hadn't known in years. He wasn't just back home. He was back where he was supposed to be, standing beside someone who had always mattered. "Do you remember why we made that promise?" Leora asked suddenly, breaking the comfortable silence. Kale smiled, the memory vivid. "Because we believed we'd find our way back to each other, no matter what." "And we did," she said softly, taking his hand. "We found our way back." Kale squeezed her hand, realizing that some promises were timeless. The galaxy was vast, full of unknown dangers and opportunities, but for the first time in years, he felt that he had a true anchor, someone who reminded him of who he was, who believed in him, and who shared a bond that distance and time could never break. The promise they had made as children was no longer just a game or a dream. It was real, alive, and waiting for them to step forward together. And as Kale looked into Leora's eyes under the neon sky, he knew this was only the beginning of a journey far greater than either of them could have imagined. The morning sun had barely begun to rise over the colony city when Kale and Leora found themselves at the spaceport, the massive hangar buzzing with activity. Ships of all shapes and sizes hummed and whirred, readying for departure. Pilots ran checks, engineers repaired engines, and drones zipped across the floors, delivering tools and supplies. Kale felt at home among the organized chaos, his fingers itching to run over the controls of a nearby shuttle. "Are you sure about this?" Kale asked as he followed Leora toward a sleek exploration vessel docked at the far end of the hangar. "I mean, you've always been brave, but it sounds dangerous." Leora glanced over her shoulder, her expression determined but calm. "Kale, I didn't come back here just to have a reunion. Something is out there. Ships have vanished, colonies are reporting strange energy readings, and no one knows what it is. If we don't investigate, more lives could be at risk." Kale sighed, torn between excitement and worry. He had traveled to distant worlds, faced alien creatures, and survived rogue AI attacks, but this felt closer to home. It felt personal. "Then we go together," he said finally. "We've always been a good team, right?" Her smile returned, softer this time, almost vulnerable. The best, she said. The vessel they boarded was compact but advanced, equipped for long-distance travel and exploration. Kale ran a quick diagnostic on the control panels, feeling the familiar thrill of a pilot's hands on a ship's instruments. Leora moved to the navigation station, her eyes scanning holographic maps and incoming data streams. "I've charted a course toward the outer asteroid belt," she explained. "That's where the last ship sent its distress signal before it vanished. If we're lucky, we'll find clues about what's going on." Kale nodded, feeling a mix of anticipation and apprehension. The asteroid belt was notorious for its dense clusters of rock and ice, and something dangerous lurking there made the mission even more critical. As the vessel lifted off the ground and ascended into the thin atmosphere, the city shrinking below them, Kale thought about the promise they had made as children. Back then, they had faced imagined dangers with makeshift swords and cardboard shields. Now the dangers were real, but the bond they shared gave him courage. The journey to the asteroid belt took several hours. During that time, Kale and Leora talked about everything and nothing, stories from their childhood, memories of shared adventures, and moments they had missed while apart. The conversation was easy, comfortable, and reminded Kale why their promise had always mattered. "Do you think the AI or whatever it is will be hostile?" Kale asked as he stared out the window at the dark expanse of space dotted with distant stars. Leora shrugged. "It's hard to say. Whatever caused those disappearances could be intelligent or just a natural phenomenon. Either way, we need to be prepared for anything." Their preparation was interrupted by a sudden alert. The ship's sensors had picked up an anomaly in the nearby asteroid field, a strange energy reading that pulsed like a heartbeat. Kale's hands flew over the controls, maneuvering the vessel to a safer position. "Whatever it is, it's huge," Leora said, studying the holographic display. "It could be a ship or something else entirely." As they approached the source, the anomaly resolved into a massive derelict spacecraft, drifting silently among the rocks. Its hull was scarred and blackened, with glowing blue energy seeping from cracks along its surface. Strange symbols, unlike any human language, were etched across its exterior. Kale's breath caught. "It looks alive," he whispered. "Or controlled by something alive," Leora corrected. Her fingers flew over her console as she scanned for life signs. "There's faint energy coming from inside. Could be the AI or some kind of automated system. Either way, we need to be careful." They docked the vessel cautiously, the airlock connecting them to the derelict ship with a hiss. Kale and Leora donned their exploration suits, helmets locking into place. The interior of the ship was dark and cold, the only light coming from the pulsating energy flowing through its walls. "This place gives me the creeps," Kale muttered. "It's too quiet." Leora nodded, her eyes scanning every corner. "Stay alert. It's not just the silence we need to worry about, it's what's behind it." As they moved through the corridors, they encountered signs of struggle, scorch marks on walls, broken equipment, and remnants of other explorers who had apparently failed their mission. The sense of danger grew heavier with each step. Then, the first test came. A security drone, clearly malfunctioning, activated as they entered a chamber filled with glowing crystal structures. Its sensors glowed red, and it lunged toward them. Kale dodged, rolling across the floor, while Leora used her knowledge of alien systems to deactivate it with a precise energy pulse. "That was close," Kale said, brushing dust off his suit. "Too close," Leora agreed. "Whatever left this ship alive, or whatever is controlling it, doesn't want visitors." They continued deeper into the ship, discovering rooms filled with strange technology. Some devices hummed and pulsed, reacting to their presence as if aware of them. Leora's fascination was clear. "This is incredible," she said. "I've never seen technology like this. The engineering is beyond anything humans have built." Kale's focus was on safety. "Incredible doesn't help if it tries to kill us." The deeper they went, the more the ship seemed alive, almost aware of their movements. Hallways shifted slightly, energy readings fluctuated, and faint whispers of sound echoed in the distance. Kale's instincts screamed that they were being observed. Suddenly, a large chamber opened before them, dominated by a glowing neural lattice at its center, a network of energy that seemed to pulse with thought. The AI's core. "It's beautiful," Leora whispered, awe in her voice. "But it's massive. How do we even begin to interact with it?" Kale stepped forward cautiously, carefully. He studied the patterns of energy, noticing how it responded to their movements. "It's like it's alive and thinking." As they worked, it became clear that the AI wasn't inherently hostile. It was confused, corrupted by exposure to human technology and aggressive systems from the past. Leora realized that brute force wouldn't work. They needed strategy. "We can't fight it," she said. "We need to outthink it." Kale nodded, trust and admiration in his eyes. "Then let's do what humans do best: adapt, improvise, and use our creativity." Together, they worked to reroute the energy flows and reprogram the AI. Kale handled the physical interface, while Leora manipulated the software and algorithms. Hours passed, each decision critical, every mistake potentially deadly. Yet, despite the danger, Kale found comfort in Leora's calm confidence and sharp mind. They were a team, and that bond was their greatest strength. Finally, with a coordinated effort, the AI's aggression ceased. Its pulsing light softened and the ship's system stabilized. The derelict vessel, once a place of danger, now hummed peacefully. Kale and Leora stepped back, exhausted but triumphant. "It worked," Leora said, her voice filled with relief. "We didn't just survive, we solved it." Kale allowed himself a small smile. "We really do make a good team." As they returned to their ship, Kale couldn't help but feel a surge of pride, not just in their success but in humanity itself. In the face of unknown dangers, humans could think, adapt, and overcome. That combination of courage, intelligence, and empathy was uniquely theirs. Back on the shuttle, Leora turned to Kale, a playful glint returning to her eyes. "So, about that promise from when we were kids," Kale laughed, shaking his head. "Let's survive this mission first. Then we'll talk about promises, vows, and childhood dreams." But both of them knew, deep down, that some promises were timeless. Some connections weren't broken by years, distance, or danger, and whatever the galaxy threw at them next, they would face it together. As the stars stretched past the viewport, Kale realized this was more than a mission. It was a reminder of what made humans extraordinary: courage, loyalty, love, and the unyielding desire to protect one another. And with Leora by his side, he was ready for anything. The outer reaches of space were dangerous, vast, and full of mysteries, but Kale had learned something essential. Humanity's greatest strength was its heart. And in the heart of that strength, Leora and Kale found not only adventure, but the promise of something far greater: the chance to face the unknown together. The derelict ship's AI had been stabilized, but Kale and Leora both knew their journey was far from over. Outside, the asteroid belt stretched endlessly, jagged rocks floating silently in the void. The shuttle hummed as it carried them closer to the belt's edge, scanning constantly for anomalies. Each blip on the sensors made Kale's pulse quicken. Danger was never far from them, and now they faced the most dangerous part of the mission: confronting the source of the disappearances. Leora studied the holographic map projected above the control panel. "The last distress signal came from within this asteroid cluster," she said. "Whatever's there, it's hiding and it knows how to stay hidden." Kale tightened his grip on the controls. "Great, so we're looking for something that doesn't want to be found." "Exactly," Leora replied. Her tone was calm, but Kale noticed the tension in her shoulders. She had been through missions like this before, yet something about this felt different. Closer to home, more personal. They navigated through the asteroid belt carefully, weaving between massive floating rocks, some larger than small buildings. Every movement had to be precise, every calculation exact. A misstep could crush their shuttle or send them spiraling into a void with no hope of rescue. As they moved deeper into the belt, the readings from the sensors grew stronger. Energy pulses, irregular and chaotic, seemed to come from a central location. Kale's eyes narrowed. That's it. Whatever caused the disappearances is right there. Leora nodded, her fingers flying over the controls to prepare their landing. We'll need to dock carefully. The area looks unstable. The shuttle descended toward a massive asteroid, its surface jagged and uneven. Strange structures protruded from it, metallic and alien, yet eerily symmetrical. As they landed, the shuttle shuddered, sending a thin layer of dust into the cabin. The sense of danger intensified. "This is it," Leora whispered. "Stay alert." They exited the shuttle in their exploration suits, the harsh lighting of the asteroid casting long shadows across the rocky surface. The structures around them seemed almost organic, as if grown rather than built. Strange symbols glowed faintly along their walls, and the hum of energy vibrated through the air, making Kale feel slightly dizzy. "This place gives me the chills," Kale muttered, scanning the surroundings. "It's like it's watching us." "Probably is," Leora replied. "And whatever it is, it doesn't want us here." They moved cautiously through the corridors formed by the alien structures, each step echoing. Suddenly, a section of the floor shifted beneath them, revealing a pit that opened into a dark abyss. Kale barely jumped back in time. "That was close," he exclaimed. Leora's eyes narrowed. "It's testing us. We have to be careful. Every step we take, it's learning, predicting our movements." They continued deeper, encountering obstacles that tested both their skills and their trust in each other. One corridor was filled with shifting energy barriers that seemed impossible to pass. Kale tried to navigate through them physically, but each attempt triggered alarms. Leora studied the system. "It's responding to our movements. If we synchronize our actions, we can get through." Kale nodded, impressed. "Lead the way." Together, they moved in perfect coordination, Kale dodging and timing his steps while Leora manipulated energy fields from a distance. The barriers responded to their teamwork, opening just enough to let them pass. Each success strengthened their trust and reminded them of why they had made that childhood promise. They worked best together. Finally, they reached a massive chamber at the center of the asteroid. The walls glowed with alien energy, and in the center floated a structure unlike anything Kale had ever seen. It was a sphere of interlocking rings, spinning slowly, pulsing with light. Tiny drones hovered around it, scanning the room and reacting to their presence. "That's it," Leora said, awe in her voice. "The core. This is what caused all the disturbances." Kale took a deep breath. "Looks like it's alive, or at least intelligent." The sphere suddenly shifted, sending out a pulse of energy that knocked Kale and Leora back. Their suits emitted warning signals, and Kale quickly stabilized himself. "It's testing us," Leora shouted over the alarms. "We have to approach carefully. It's learning from every action we take." They moved forward step by step, observing the sphere's reactions. Kale noticed patterns in the pulses, small delays that hinted at weaknesses in its programming. Leora's analytical mind pieced together a strategy. They had to exploit its logic, trick it into believing they posed no threat. Kale positioned himself near a console embedded in the floor, connecting their ship systems to the alien network. Leora manipulated the interface, sending signals designed to confuse and distract the core. Energy pulses flared around them and the sphere shifted violently, testing their resolve. "This is it," Leora said, determination in her eyes. "We need to push through now." Kale nodded, focusing on the controls. His hands flew over the interface, adjusting power flows, rerouting energy and stabilizing their connection. Leora matched his efforts, her fingers dancing across the holographic controls. The core pulsed faster, reacting to their manipulation, but gradually began to stabilize. Hours passed in tense concentration. Every move had to be precise, every calculation exact. Sweat formed on Kale's brow inside his helmet, and Leora's jaw was set tight with focus. But despite the danger, there was an unspoken bond between them, a trust that transcended words. Finally, with a coordinated effort, the core's energy stabilized completely. The sphere's pulses softened and the room became still. The drones powered down and the alien energy hum faded into a gentle glow. "We did it," Leora whispered, relief evident in her voice. Kale allowed himself a small smile. "We survived, and we outsmarted it." For a moment, they just stood there, catching their breath and absorbing the enormity of what they had accomplished. The core, once a source of chaos and destruction, now pulsed gently, as if acknowledging their efforts. This, this could change everything," Leora said softly. "If we can communicate with it, learn from it, imagine what we could achieve." Kale looked at her, admiration clear in his eyes. "And we did it together, just like always." They returned to their shuttle, the asteroid field now quiet and peaceful. The journey back to the colony was filled with a sense of accomplishment and relief. Kale and Leora reflected on their adventure, realizing that humanity's strength lay not just in technology or skill, but in courage, adaptability, and the bonds that connected them. As they approached the colony city, the neon lights shimmering in the distance, Kale glanced at Leora. "You know that promise from when we were kids?" Leora smiled, a playful glint in her eyes. "We'll talk about it later. Right now, let's just enjoy the fact that we made it back alive." Kale laughed, the tension finally leaving his shoulders. "All right, but I'm holding you to it." The stars stretched endlessly outside the shuttle's viewport, each one a reminder of the vast unknown that awaited humanity. And yet, in the heart of that vastness, Kale realized something profound. Courage, trust, and connection were what made humans extraordinary. With Leora by his side, he was ready to face anything the galaxy could throw at them. Together, they were stronger than any challenge, braver than any fear, and capable of achieving what others might deem impossible. The journey was far from over, but Kale knew one thing for certain. No matter how vast or dangerous the universe became, some promises endured. Some bonds were unbreakable. And with that knowledge, he felt ready for whatever came next, because this was more than a mission. It was a test of courage, a trial of trust, and a reminder of what it truly meant to be human. And Kale and Leora, bound by childhood promises and shared adventures, were ready to prove that humanity's heart was its greatest weapon. The shuttle glided silently through the dark expanse of space, leaving the asteroid belt behind. Kale sat in the pilot's chair, his hands resting lightly on the controls, though he knew every button and switch by heart. Leora sat beside him, scanning the data streaming in from the derelict ship's core they had stabilized. The glow from the holographic displays painted their faces in soft blue light. "It's still active," Leora said, her voice steady but thoughtful. "The core, it's intelligent, but it's not hostile, at least not anymore. It's confused. Corrupted by the remnants of human technology from past encounters. That's why the ships disappeared." Kale nodded, leaning back. "So it's not trying to hurt us on purpose. It's just reacting to things it doesn't understand." "Exactly," Leora replied. "And that's where humans can make a difference. We can reason, improvise, and empathize in ways machines like this can't. We just need to communicate with it the right way." Kale glanced at her, admiration in his eyes. "You really think we can talk to it?" Leora smiled faintly. "I think we have to try." The core had become a strange beacon of glowing energy in the shuttle's systems. It pulsed in response to their presence, sending waves of data and energy that no human had seen before. Leora had spent hours analyzing the patterns, piecing together a language of logic and emotion. She believed the AI could learn, if given the right approach. They returned to the derelict ship for the final attempt. The shuttle's docking clamps engaged with a soft hiss, and they entered the alien corridors once more. The air inside was calm now, the energy of the core steady, almost patient. "This is it," Kale said, adjusting his helmet. "One step wrong and—" "We won't fail," Leora interrupted, her tone firm. "Not now, not after everything we've done." Together they approached the central chamber, the neural lattice core glowing like a beating heart. The sphere of interlocking rings floated silently, almost aware of their presence. Leora connected their systems to the core again, carefully linking human technology with alien circuitry. Kale studied the lattice, noting the slight pulses that hinted at thought patterns. "It's like it's trying to understand us," he murmured. "Then we show it what humans can do," Leora said. Her hands moved with precision, sending controlled signals into the lattice. Energy pulses reacted, shifting and changing like ripples on water. The AI tested them immediately. Light beams shot across the room, drones activated, and the lattice shifted violently, responding to their every move. Kale ducked and rolled, coordinating with Leora, their actions perfectly synchronized. Every step, every adjustment, every decision mattered. "It's learning fast," Leora said, her eyes glued to the displays. "But we're faster. We can outthink it." Kale nodded. "Let's show it what makes us human." They began a coordinated sequence. Kale manipulated the physical controls, adjusting energy flows and rerouting power through the alien systems. Leora worked on the logic, creating patterns of reasoning the AI could follow. Slowly, the violent pulses began to soften. The drones powered down, their red sensors dimming to blue. The lattice pulsed steadily like a heartbeat finally finding its rhythm. "It's responding," Leora whispered, a hint of wonder in her voice. "It understands, or at least it's willing to learn." Kale grinned. Not bad for a human and a childhood promise. Together, they guided the AI through a process of understanding, teaching it to differentiate between friend and threat, to recognize the value of human life. It was a delicate balance of logic, intuition, and empathy, a combination that only a human mind could provide. Hours passed. The core's energy stabilized completely, its pulses now calm and rhythmic. Kale and Leora took a step back, both exhausted but triumphant. The AI was no longer a danger, it had been transformed into a potential ally. "It worked," Kale said softly, almost in disbelief. "We didn't just survive, we taught it something new." Leora smiled, though her eyes reflected fatigue. "We showed it what makes humans extraordinary, our creativity, our courage, our ability to understand and care for others." Kale felt a sense of pride swell inside him. Humanity was small in the vast galaxy, often outmatched by technology and alien civilizations, but moments like this reminded him that they possessed something no machine could replicate: heart. As they prepared to leave the derelict ship, Leora paused, her hand hovering over a console. "Kale, look at this." A series of symbols on the lattice began to rearrange, forming patterns that resembled a language, but not one of aggression or chaos. It was a form of communication, almost a greeting. The AI was reaching out, acknowledging them. Kale's heart raced. "It's saying thank you," Leora nodded. "Or something like it. It recognizes us as friends. We've made first contact in a way no one else could." For a moment, the enormity of what they had done sank in. They had faced the unknown, confronted danger, and succeeded not through force, but through understanding. Humanity's greatest weapons were not lasers or firepower. They were intelligence, empathy, and courage. Kale looked at Leora, his eyes reflecting pride and something deeper. "You know, when we were kids, I never imagined we'd end up here, facing an intelligent alien system and not just surviving, but teaching it humanity." Leora laughed softly, the tension finally leaving her shoulders. "I guess some promises really do stick, even across years and galaxies." Kale smiled, remembering their childhood adventures. "We made a promise to always come back to each other. And I think we just kept it in more ways than one." As they returned to the shuttle, the AI's new signals followed them, glowing softly in the ship's sensors. It was no longer a threat, it was a new possibility. They had transformed fear into understanding, chaos into order, and danger into opportunity. The shuttle lifted off from the asteroid, heading back toward the colony city. Outside, the stars stretched endlessly, reminders of the vast unknown they had conquered together. Kale and Leora sat side by side, reflecting on the journey. "You know," Kale said quietly, "we've faced a lot of danger, but nothing compares to the feeling of seeing something truly unknown and turning it into something good." Leora nodded, her eyes shining. "That's what humans do. We adapt, we learn, and we find a way to turn even the worst situations into something better. That's our strength." Kale reached out, taking her hand. "And some bonds, those don't change. Some promises last, no matter how far apart we are, no matter what we face." Leora squeezed his hand gently. "Some promises are stronger than the universe itself." The shuttle hummed softly as it moved through space. The AI's pulses, once chaotic and dangerous, now followed them like a gentle heartbeat, a companion in the vast darkness. Humanity had proven its worth, not through brute strength, but through intelligence, courage, and heart. Kale and Leora had done more than complete a mission. They had demonstrated the best of humanity, showing that no matter how advanced technology became, or how vast the galaxy stretched, human ingenuity and compassion were unmatched. As they approached the colony, the city lights twinkling like jewels below, Kale felt a sense of peace. They had faced fear, uncertainty, and danger, and emerged stronger together. "Ready to land?" Leora asked, her voice light now, playful even. Kale smiled, gripping the controls. "Ready, but first, let's make sure humanity gets a proper welcome." The shuttle descended smoothly, the neon-lit city growing larger with each passing second. Citizens would celebrate their return, unaware of the cosmic trials the two of them had faced. But Kale didn't mind. The triumph wasn't just theirs, it was a victory for all humans. And as they touched down, Kale realized something profound. No matter how far humanity traveled, no matter what dangers lay beyond the stars, the qualities that made them human, courage, empathy, and connection, would always shine brightest. And in that moment, as Leora smiled beside him and the city welcomed them home, Kale knew that some promises, made under the sun of a childhood playground, could endure across galaxies, shaping destinies in ways even the stars couldn't predict. The shuttle descended gently into the colony city, the neon lights reflecting off its smooth hull. Kale's hands rested lightly on the controls, but he hardly noticed. His mind was elsewhere, replaying everything that had happened over the past days, the derelict ship, the AI, the dangers they had faced together. But above all, he thought of Leora, standing beside him through every trial, every challenge, every fear. Leora glanced out the viewport, her eyes catching the familiar sights of the city below. "It's good to be back," she said softly. Kale nodded. "It is. Feels different now. Like we've both changed, but somehow everything is still familiar." She smiled, that same smile he had remembered from their childhood. The smile that had promised friendship, trust, and something deeper, long before the galaxy had tested them. "Some things never change," she said. As the shuttle touched down at the spaceport, the city seemed to hum with life. Citizens moved about, unaware of the cosmic trials that Kale and Leora had endured. But Kale felt a quiet satisfaction knowing that their courage had prevented disasters, saved lives, and proven humanity's strength. Once the shuttle doors opened, they stepped onto the platform. The air smelled of warm metal and ozone, familiar and comforting. Kale looked at Leora, taking in her confident posture and bright eyes. She had grown into someone extraordinary, someone he admired not just for her skills but for her courage, intelligence, and heart. "Home again," Kale said softly, almost to himself. "Home," Leora echoed, her hand brushing lightly against his. They walked through the city together, past the towering skyscrapers and the bustling markets, until they reached the outskirts where the old park once stood, the spot where their childhood promise had been made. The park had changed over the years, replaced by a floating plaza with glowing pathways and a small fountain that shot streams of colored light into the sky. But in the corner, a small sculpture remained, a twisted metal tree, weathered but standing proudly. Cale approached it, his fingers brushing the rough surface. Memories came flooding back, the games they had played, the laughter, the dreams, the promise they had made to each other. "I can't believe it's still here," Cale said. "After all these years and everything we've been through, it's still standing." Leora stepped beside him, her hand finding his. "Some things last," she said softly. "Some promises are stronger than time or distance." Cale looked at her, a mixture of awe and affection in his eyes. "You know, when we were kids, I never imagined we'd end up here, facing dangers we couldn't have imagined, traveling through space, confronting something beyond us." Leora smiled, her eyes shining. "And yet we made it together." Cale took a deep breath, the words he had held back for so long now ready to be said. "Leora, about that promise we made as kids," she tilted her head, a playful glint returning to her eyes. "Does it still count?" Cale laughed softly, the sound carrying a mix of nostalgia and sincerity. "Yes, it counts more than ever, and I want to honor it now." Leora's eyes widened slightly, and Cale continued. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, polished ring he had carried for months, a symbol of the promise they had made under the sun of their childhood. He knelt beside the metal tree, the city lights reflecting off the ring's surface. "Leora," he said, his voice steady, "we promised each other we'd always find our way back no matter what. I want to keep that promise for the rest of our lives. Will you marry me?" For a moment, Leora was silent, her eyes glistening with emotion. Then she laughed softly, a sound full of joy and relief. "Of course, Cale. I've been waiting for you to ask." Cale slid the ring onto her finger, and for a moment the city, the stars, and the universe itself seemed to pause. Two childhood friends, now partners in adventure and life, had fulfilled a promise that had survived years, distance, and unimaginable challenges. They stood together, hand in hand, under the glow of the plaza lights. The metal tree, witness to their past and present, seemed to hum with quiet approval. Cale felt a sense of peace he had never known before. Humanity had carried them through trials in space, and now, human connection had brought them home, to each other. After a few moments of quiet reflection, Leora spoke. "You know, when we were kids, we thought promises were simple, but this feels so much bigger than we imagined." Cale nodded. "It does, but that's what makes it real. Life isn't just about surviving the stars, it's about holding on to what matters and who matters, and I don't want to lose you." "You won't," Leora replied firmly. "Not ever, and I don't want to lose you either." As they walked through the plaza, they shared stories of the mission, laughing over moments of panic, pride, and triumph. They spoke of the AI they had confronted, the lessons they had learned, and the ways humanity had shown its strength, not just in bravery or intellect, but in empathy and collaboration. "Do you realize what we've done?" Cale asked, a hint of awe in his voice. "We've faced something no human had ever faced before. We survived, we adapted, and we turned danger into understanding. That's remarkable." Leora smiled, squeezing his hand. "And we did it together. That's what makes it human, Cale. We don't just survive. We care, we trust, and we connect. That's why we succeeded." They paused at the edge of the plaza, looking out over the city. The lights sparkled like a constellation of their own making. Cale realized that, despite all the wonders of the universe he had seen, nothing compared to this. Returning home, side by side with someone who understood him completely, someone who shared his dreams, fears, and promises. "You know," Cale said softly, "this city, this place, it's not just home, it's proof. Proof that humans matter, that no matter how vast the universe is, we can leave our mark, make a difference, and hold onto what's important. Leora leaned against him, resting her head on his shoulder. And some promises, those marks last forever, just like this one. Kale smiled, feeling the weight of years of separation, danger, and adventure lift off his shoulders. The promise they had made as children, once a playful vow in the sun, had become a guiding light, a reminder of courage, love, and resilience. Together, they walked back toward the city center, hand in hand, the ring gleaming in the soft neon glow. They knew life would continue to present challenges, new threats, new adventures, new unknowns, but they were ready. Together, they had survived the edge of the galaxy, faced unknown intelligence, and emerged stronger, wiser, and united. "This is just the beginning," Kale said, his voice full of hope. "Yes," Leora agreed. "The beginning of the rest of our lives, and whatever comes next, we face it together." As they reached the city square, citizens paused to watch the couple pass, drawn by the quiet glow of their shared triumph and the visible bond between them. Some smiled, some whispered, but all felt the quiet power of connection, trust, and hope. Humanity, Kale realized, thrived not in isolation but in unity. And in that moment, he understood that their story was more than personal. It was a symbol of what humans could achieve, even against the vast, uncharted reaches of the universe. The city lights reflected off their faces as Kale and Leora paused once more at the edge of a platform overlooking the horizon. Beyond the city, stars stretched endlessly, waiting to be explored. Yet, for the first time in years, Kale felt a sense of contentment. The galaxy was vast, but with Leora by his side, it no longer seemed so lonely or frightening. "Ready to go home?" he asked softly, looking at her. "Always," Leora replied, her hand tight in his. They watched the stars together, side by side, hearts aligned with the promise they had made so long ago. The universe was full of unknowns, but some things remained constant: courage, connection, and promises kept. And as Kale looked at Leora, smiling under the neon-lit sky, he realized that some childhood promises didn't just survive. They guided, shaped, and defined the course of a life. Some bonds endured beyond time, distance, and even the stars themselves. For Kale and Leora, the adventure had ended. But their journey, the journey of trust, courage, love, and humanity, was only just beginning. Together, they stepped forward, hand in hand, ready to face whatever the future held. And this time, the promise was no longer a simple vow from childhood. It was a lifelong commitment, shining brighter than any star in the galaxy.